Haynes's face of blood was part of the collective memory of the settlement, though only Barton had seen it. The body was never recovered. The rains came and the grasslands were flooded. By the time the people were able to venture so far, there was no trace. But the place where he met his end was called Goldwater by Jimmy in his classroom stories, and it became as legendary in its way as Goose Tree or Red Creek, enshrined like then in the imagination of the children. It was said that at certain times, when the water ran clear in the stream bed, a glimpse of gold crystallized there. It had been Lucky Ship Barton's last attempt at the private enterprise. He was Kareko's lackey now, and generally despised, a man without friends and without a regular woman. To Haynes, something was held to be owing, simply for the manner of his death, and this was also true of Wilson. It was strange that these two bad men both, and sworn enemies, should have been the martyrs and founding fathers of the community. Delblanc had known how to use these deaths, as he had known how to use everything. Not least of the mysteries that touched Paris's mind as he finally drifted towards sleep was how his dead friend, an itinerant portrait painter of good birth and easy manners, had been able to forge men of such metal into instruments of a higher purpose. But of course it was not a higher purpose at all, he thought, despite the rhetoric of the time. It was our purpose, Delblanc's and mine, his based on doctrines of liberty, mine on some inveterate hope. Men living free and equal in a state of nature. What gave us the confidence to suppose that a state of nature could only mean what it meant to us? A notion of Eden, a nostalgia of educated, privileged men. Chapter 49. Callie woke at dawn, released from a dream in which she had been lost in a desolate place and bitterly weeping. He whimpered on waking, and lay for some time without moving, not knowing where he was, still involved in the grief of the Then he knew the feel of the sand on which he was lying, and saw the branches overhead of the rough shelter he had made for himself. He crawled out, away from his sorrow, into the misty light of morning. He shook himself and urinated and shivered, looking up at the sky above the sea, where trailing clouds were touched with faint pink. Crouched again in his shelter, he ate the kunti bread and scraps of dried fish left from the day before. Then he started back through the jungle of the hummock to make a scratch hole for water on the landward side. It was several hours' walk to the settlement, but Callie had been combing the beaches and ranging through the pine ridges for years now, and he knew there was water here, just below the ground, as he knew there were acorn trees and pig nuts and the tunnels of the big red land crabs. Now he did things exactly in the way Nadri had taught him years before. Nadri had always been kind to him and protected him, and to some extent had taken Deacon's place in his life. With the long-bladed knife that was his only weapon and practically his only possession, he dug down into the soft, sandy mould until he came upon the water. It was muddy at first, but Callie knew that it would clear if he waited some minutes, because the water below the ground was always flowing, very slowly, towards the ocean. Nadri, who knew a great many things, had told him this, and he had always remembered it. When the water was clear, he lowered his head towards his moon-faced reflection. Alone among the crew people, Callie grew no hair on his face, only a soft, whitish down. He drank, careful not to disturb the bed of the pool. This done, he put on his harness, which he had carried with him from the shelter. It consisted of a broad back pad, rather like a saddle, made of matted palm fibres, worn high on the shoulders and secured with rope straps. Callie quite often found logs of pitchwood in the forest, and he had learned that this black, heavy wood was in great demand as fuel, and could secure him food and shelter and sexual favours sometimes. He had no hut of his own, and no settled way of life. He was extremely strong, and he would arrive at the settlement, which he had carried with him from the water below the ground was always flowing, very slowly. Crouched again in his shelter, he ate the kunti bread and scraps of dried fish left from the day before. Then he started back through the jungle of the hummock to make a scratch hole for water